Well, it didn't take too long for absolutely everything to explode with the Raiders. All it took was John Gruden getting there. Can you believe I saw an article talking about how John Gruden nailed the draft class? I was like, what?
To what?
Yeah, I'm not in love with anything the Raiders are doing, but most certainly I'm not in love with the fact that they are willing to let the best defensive player in that conference
over Von? Ooh.
Well, he wants to make $3 million more than Von.
Bold strategy, Cotton.
I know. Let's see if it pays off. I hate to break it to you, it's not. It's not working out right now. I mean, he wants $3 million more than Von Miller. Hard to argue with that. I mean, that's it. Here's the thing about contracts. People can talk, well, he wants $3 million more. Sure, but when Von Miller signed that contract, the salary cap was $15 million lower. So he's basically asking for the same percentage of money versus the salary cap.
Yeah.
So it's not really, in scope with the NFL, it's not really an outrageous request.
No, and you know the cap's going to go up next year.
Right.
I mean, we saw that with Mario Williams. The cap kept going up, and his salary went up, but they weren't paying him any more each year.
Yeah.
It was just aligning with the cap.
Yeah, so every year his salary increased. His salary was just in line with whatever the cap was projected to increase that year. It worked out fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my issue with the Khalil Mack situation with the Raiders is the fact that he is the best defensive player in that conference.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Period. So you got to lock him down. You got to give him what he wants. You got to lock him down. Now, if you try and deal him, you have zero leverage. Zero.
Yep.
You have no leverage because everybody knows you're just trying to get out of it because you don't want to pay him. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that if you're the new team that acquires him, you still have the same problem the Raiders have. He's not going to show up just because, oh, I'm with the Rams now. Yeah, no problem.
It's like a guy that gets traded at the deadline for the NHL. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That he's on his last year of his deal. You don't know whether or not you're going to... That's why they put the thing in the... I don't know if the CBA does this, but the NHL will do it, where if you trade a guy at the deadline and then there's a clause in the contract that if you re-sign him, you give more compensation to the team that gave him to you.
Yeah, that's often a stipulation in those deals.
So the way that it works, I mean, he's in his option year. That's the thing. You have to realize, would we be able to sign him? The Bills have a ton of cap money next year. They would be able to sign Mack. They're in talks, but it's funny to hear the compensation that people are willing to give. Mm-hmm. I even heard some talks where guys wanted to trade Edmonds to get Mack here.
Sure.
And I'm like, really?
You tell me John Gruden wouldn't just salivate to get Edmonds?
I'll tell you what, man. He reminds me of a young Derek Brooks.
There it is. But Edmonds is a player that Gruden would salivate to get.
Well, he would.
And at this point, he'd be getting something for nothing because Mack's not there. Yeah. Now, Mack is holding out. It's not like he's not signed. He's holding out because he's on the fifth-year option. You don't really see the fifth-year option guys hold out. But Mack is in a position where he's one of the best 3 defensive players in the game. So he's in a position where he could hold out if he really wants to. So is Khalil Mack worth $22 million a season? Think about that number, $22 million. Is he quarterback money?
If you got to remember though, for the years that you're going to be, if Allen's your guy, for the years you're not paying Allen, you could pay him.
Right. And by the time his contract comes to an end, it's going to be time to re-sign Allen anyway.
And hopefully, if the Bills are smart with their cap money, they can roll over more to try to get Allen and him on the same team. But then Edmonds is coming up as well, so you're going to have to try to take that into consideration. If you want, let's say, what is Mac, 25, 26?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, if you want a rush end, if you want his 26, 27, 28, 29 years, and you want to cut bait when he's 30, that's great. What are you willing to give up for him, though? I mean, if the Bills are in a situation where Shaq Lawson is not in their future plans, if McCoy, being 30, is not... The way Trent Murphy's running the ball.
Trent, you know who Trent Murphy reminds me of? Quick sidestep. I'm watching Trent Murphy with the same awe that I remember watching Fred Jackson, his first season with the Bills in preseason. Going, man, where did this guy come from?
Murphy's 28, though.
I know.
That's the crazy part about it.
I know. Latavius Murray all over again. Yeah, it's the same thing. Murray came on late.
No, Murray's tall. Murray's a lot taller.
No, I'm just saying it came on late. That's what.
Oh, okay, yeah. But the point being is that, because we've heard McCoy a second, and Lawson for Mack. A lot of people want to jump on that.
That's convenient for us, but I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that deal would work.
Why would you? That's the thing. I don't know about Oakland doing that when you have Marshawn Lynch, who's really at the end of his rope.
Yeah.
Doug Martin, who you don't know if he's going to stay on the field.
Right.
And I don't know any like young guys that are coming up through Oakland.
Yeah, they've kind of ignored that running back position.
So yeah, so that's that. You can get Shaq Lawson, where he's not going to request top 3 money because he hasn't earned it yet.
No.
Last year you just gave 125 to Derek Carr, so you can't pay Lawson that much money. But if you give him a draft pick, that gives them some juice to trade up if they want. Would I love Mack in a Bills uniform? No doubt. I would have loved Brandon Oliver, but who did he get signed by the way?
I don't know.
Dang.
I would have loved Khalil Mack in a uniform 5 seasons ago, because think about this, right? Since Khalil Mack and Sammy Watkins were drafted, right? Mack's only played for the Raiders.
Here we go.
Watkins is on team number 3. That's right.
Place.
Yeah.
He's on the start team. He doesn't stand anywhere right now.
Please don't tell me you practiced that in the mirror.
No. Why would I practice it in the mirror? It's sound.
You should see the face you make while you're doing that.
You've never seen The Godfather?
I'm talking about you.
He looks like Bubba from Forrest Gump when he talks. His chin's like out to here.
You sounded more like Dom DeLuise from Robin Hood Men in
Will you
Tights.
stop with that? You did that again. It's Marlon Brando.
Dom DeLuise.
Should I go back to Gruden?
No. Let's move on. But the truth is...
All right, man.
The truth is, could Khalil Mack be available? I suppose. But at some point, he's going to have to show up for the Raiders. Because if he doesn't show up, his contract will hold. Yep. So his same contract, he'll be on next year. So we'll be playing this game forever.
Yeah.
So...
his
contract will stay.
What is it, though, what happened? He's a defensive player of the year. He's a dominant rush end. Mm-hmm. What is he doing, or what has Gruden seen that he does not want? Either he doesn't want to pay him, or is he getting pressure from Davis?
I think this is an organizational thing, because
Okay.
Thru from Rockpile Report brought up something in the chat that was really interesting, and it's kind of a nerdy thing that not a lot of people will know about, but there's concern that the Raiders don't have enough money. And that is truthfully very possible. The long story short, here's what happens. I'm just going to give you the Reader's Digest version, right? The Raiders are paying to relocate, right? Okay, that's expensive. You got to build a stadium. You got to build a fan base. You got to market. You got to get a whole new marketing. You got a lot. You're investing a lot of money in the move, right?
Okay.
When you sign a player to a contract that has a lot of guaranteed money, see Derek Carr, that guaranteed money that's in future years has to be in like an escrow account. When the Raiders signed Derek Carr to a $120 million deal, and 65 of it's guaranteed. I don't remember the exact numbers on the deal, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
That means $65 million has to go in an account waiting for him to get to those guaranteed years. So even if that guaranteed money's not 3 to 4 years down the road, that money's already in the bank for him. Mm-hmm. It's guaranteed. It's locked down. So there's concern that the Raiders don't have the liquid capital to actually pay him that money, right?
Yeah.
So it might be a financial situation. Now, here's the thing that gets me a little bit. They picked up his 5th-year option last season. The way the 5th-year option works is you have to do it in year 3, right? You have to announce in year 3. Yeah, you have to do it before year 3. You could drop it any time during year 3.
You sure it's not year 4?
No, you have to do it by the end of year 3.
Okay.
You have to do it by the end of year 3. And then you could drop it any time in the year 4 if the player is terrible and you don't want to re-sign him, you can drop that option anytime in year 4. But it goes effect the same time as like a lot of those roster bonuses do for players. So like the 3rd day of the league year, it goes live. So they picked up his option, which was like $17 million. It was a lot of money, but that money's fully guaranteed.
Yep.
So the thought was that money has to be in the bank already. I don't know. From the way that they're handling this situation, it does call into question the money might not be in the bank. They really might not have the money to pay him. And if they don't have the money to pay him, then his holdout is absolutely justified. Right? I mean, if he's guaranteed that money and they're going, yeah, we'll guarantee it to you, we're just going to write the check post-dated until week 1 of the season. That's a problem.
Please don't cash this.
Yeah. Well, and Mark Davis says, and I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, the poorest of all the owners.
He's worth $500 million, right?
Right, which in line with the other NFL owners is.
Oh yeah, all the other guys are billionaires.
Yeah, it's pennies now. So it's different.
Look at him, he's driving a Mercedes.
How much money do you need for a good haircut? Seriously, how expensive is a good haircut?
That is the one and only Super Bowl.
He looks like my buddy.
Another reference.
Looks like my buddy.
My buddy came out just after Miracle, just to let you know.
This guy with his jokes. But, I mean, is there a problem with the Raiders? There's a big problem, and it's they can't get Khalil Mack on the field. Is he justified for holding out? I think it sets a new precedent for these 5th-round players, or these first-round players with the 5th-year option. Most of them just show up. Mack saying, nope, not good enough. And
because he knows he holds the cards.
He does, and it's a real interesting precedent to be set because I'm curious to see if that's going to happen. 5th-year options don't get exercised all the time, but I'm really curious to see what will happen if this becomes a bit more commonplace, where these first-round players on that 5th-year option, they say, no, it's not enough money, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
What can you do? What can you do?
Yeah. And he definitely has the resume to do what he's doing. A lot of guys on the 5th-year option don't have that that aura about them in their resume. So.
But at the end of the day, do the Bills have the cash in order to get him long term? They do have the cash to get him long term.
Yeah, you could sign him to, let's say you could probably get him a $10 million deal this year, and then the deal starts next year.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the deal. Let's say they were going to sign him to a 6-year deal. A 6-year deal with $40 million signing bonus, right? So what would that be per year?
6 years, 4, just 7 and change, I think.
You could do that.
6 and change, I'm sorry.
Right.
The problem with it is that because the CBA is meeting in 3 years, it's why a lot of times this offseason, a lot of those guys only sign 3-year deals because the CBA renegotiates in 3 years. So if they were going to sign a deal that's 4 or 5 years, you see a lot of those contracts backloaded with guaranteed money because they don't know how the CBA is going to turn out.
That's a really interesting point.
After 3 years. So what's going on is they want to try to backload those contracts so they can get paid when the CBA renegotiates, whatever they renegotiate.
Yeah.
But if it's a 3-year deal, a lot of guys just wanted to sign 3-year deals.
Yeah.
Due to age or anything like that. It was like, listen, the CBA is renegotiating. We may get a bump in pay. I only want to sign a 3-year deal. So they're rolling the dice with that. So.
Yeah, Mac's not in a position where you want him to sign a short-term deal. He has the absolute right to ask for a 7-8-year deal. With his age,
I would be fine.
With age of production,
I would be fine signing him for 5, getting him for 3.
Yep.
And then cutting bait if you had to.
Yeah, just figuring it out.
Yeah.
The Bills have the ability to do it, but what do you got to give up for him? I mean, a Shaq and Shady are not going to interest the Raiders.
No.
There's no interest for them on that.
No, I don't know who. It'd have to be picks.
Yeah.
It'd have to be picks at this point. Because if you don't have any money, the cheapest option to get players is picks. So.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's signing up to give the war chest away with draft picks. I mean, you'd have to give up 3. You'd have to give up 3 first round. You'd have to give up 3 top 60 picks, 2 two firsts and a second, I think, is the starting point for that.
Oh God, I'm done. No.
2 firsts and a second is the starting point for that.
No.
Yeah, because they're going to want to replace that production and take 3 swings at it.
If
Mac
Mac,
3 swings at it.
If Mac guarantees me he's going to sign a long-term deal, then I may do it. But not with the looming. Like, let's just say if it was his third year, start of his third year right now, and he's doing this, and you still got him for 2 more years guaranteed.
Yeah,
maybe I'd take a shot.
But
at
here it's 1 year. You're looking at 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's 1 year of coming in late. Like, he's got to come in, learn this scheme. You don't know if he's conditioned or not, although I have to assume that he is.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a guy who's going to be 6 weeks behind everybody else. Granted, he's the best. He's a phenomenal defensive player, but he's still 6 weeks behind.
Yeah.
But is
in your terminology.
But is he the prototypical Sean McDermott defensive end? Absolutely.
Yeah.
He absolutely is. He is the guy that would be precisely who McDermott would want and beg Bean to spend money on, because he is the type of player that sits on the outside of that Sean McDermott defense.
Mm-hmm. Who will keep bodies off those linebackers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, quick question. You cut Jerry Hughes to sign Khalil Mack. Yes? Obviously. Stupid question, right?
Okay.
You're cutting Jerry Hughes to sign Khalil Mack, yes or no?
Why?
You'll save a ton of money by you cutting Jerry. So are you cutting Jerry to sign Khalil Mack? You need the capital this year. Let's just say the opportunity comes right now. Right now the Raiders say, hey, we got Khalil Mack, we'll give him to you for 2 firsts and a second. He's willing to sign a 5-year deal for X amount, right? You are $4 million short in the salary cap this season. What are you going to do about it? You cutting Jerry Hughes to get him?
Cutting AJ McCarron.
Segment's over.